Welcome back, guys. Another Brokowskis YouTube video. Today we got waiver wire talk. Plays. Should you pick them up? Should you not pick them up? What you should do with the waiver wire players. Before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We're going to try for 100 likes. That would be awesome. Let's get right into it. So number one waiver wire ad this week, Alexander Mattison.
Yeah, Mattison's obvious. Dalvin Cook's expected to miss at least 2 weeks. Mattison, last time Dalvin Cook was out, scored over 26 fantasy points. He's going to be the bell cow in that offense. He's going to get carries. He's going to be a beast for your squad if you can get him.
Yeah, Mattison's a must-add. Moving on, Jamaal Williams. Swift just went down. We don't know right now how long he's going to be out, but until then, you want Jamaal Williams on your team. Jared Goff has been feeding running backs and targets. Great pickup. What do you think?
Yeah, Jamaal Williams is an absolute stud. He should get the targets, should get the carries. He should be good for your team while Swift is out.
Okay, another running back, Matt Breida. What do you think about him?
Matt Breida, I'm a bit iffy on him. He only got, I think, 9 carries or something around there. 9 carries. He got that screen touchdown at the end. I think Zach Moss, he was a healthy scratch on Thanksgiving, which was kind of bizarre. I think he will be back. I wouldn't rush to pick up Breida. What do you think?
I agree. The usage is not great. Yeah, I would not rush to pick him up. This Bills backfield is really weird. I would obviously much prefer the other two guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Next running back we got is Boston Scott.
Boston Scott, I wouldn't pick him up. I think Miles Sanders is fine. Boston Scott did get the bulk of the carries when Sanders went out versus the Giants. He got a little banged up, but it looks like Miles Sanders is going to be okay. I wouldn't say you need to rush to get Boston Scott. What do you think?
Yeah, I would just monitor the Sanders situation. If Sanders is for sure out, he may be worth a pickup. The other thing, though, too, is it was against the Giants, and Boston Scott always does good against the Giants. So he is very inconsistent. Like most games this year, just looking at it, 3.8 points, 4 points, 10 points. He did have another game with 12. So I would not rush to pick up Scott. I think the other running backs are much more interesting. Next up, we got the two Titans running back. We got Foreman and Hilliard. What are your thoughts on them?
I like Foreman a lot more than I like Hilliard. Foreman got 19 carries. Hilliard got, I think, 12 or something like that. Hilliard was thought to be maybe the catching back. Only got 2 targets, plus Jeremy McNichols is coming back. I think McNichols will play that third down role. I think Freeman will play the bulk of the first and second down. So I like Freeman a good amount. I like Foreman a good amount, but I wouldn't rush to pick up Hilliard.
Yeah, I agree. Hilliard got more points. It was a lot due to that long touchdown run that he had. I would not rush to pick him up. I think Foreman is interesting, though. I would pick up Foreman. Obviously, Mattison and Williams over him, but I would rather have Foreman than Boston Scott. I would rather have Foreman than Matt Breida. So, yeah, I would pick up Foreman if you can. And the last running back we're going to talk about, Tevin Coleman. What are your thoughts on him?
How much carries did Tevin Coleman get? I actually don't know his stats. 16 carries. It looks like he actually did take a good amount of that offensive snaps, but I wouldn't rush to pick him up. I think Michael Carter will be back. He's on IR, might be back in 2 to 3 weeks, and he's not just going to have that elite production that other backup running backs will, because the Jets' offense just isn't that great. He only had 3 targets, only had 2 catches. I don't love him. If you're in a super deep league, I'd consider it. Maybe if you have Michael Carter, I'd consider it, but I wouldn't rush to pick him up. What do you think?
I think if you need a running back, I kind of like Coleman. The 16 carries is very encouraging. I would rather have Coleman than Breida. I would rather have Coleman than Boston Scott. So if you're desperate for a running back, I would look at Coleman. I like the carries until Carter comes back. Otherwise you don't need him.
Yeah.
Moving on, quarterbacks. Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, I kind of like Mac Jones. He's decent. If you're like really down bad at quarterback, I consider it. He does have 2 tough matchups coming up. He's versing the number 1 Bills twice in the next 3 games he plays. So I wouldn't say like he's a must-add. He doesn't have a great playoff matchups at all. He has put up somewhat consistent points. Actually, he's pretty inconsistent. 21, 10, 19, 5. I would not rush to pick him up unless you're like absolutely down bad at quarterback.
Yeah, and he just had 2 good matchups. 31 Titans, 30 Atlanta. 21 against the Titans, only 10 against Atlanta. Like he said, versus Buffalo this week. I would not rush to pick up Mac Jones. He has been playing well. I just don't think the fantasy outlook is that good in the coming weeks. I would look for other streaming options at QB.
Yeah.
And then our other quarterback, we just adding Cam Newton. He is rostered in a bunch of leagues. This is just on the small chance someone picked him up. He played like garbage, and they might be worried and drop him. If someone drops Cam Newton, I would pick him up. Yeah. He has a bye this week, but then he comes back and he plays Atlanta week 14. if you need a quarterback week 14, Atlanta is a great team to play against. I would pick up Cam Newton if someone's panicking and drops him. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I think Cam Newton's good. He only completed 5 passes. He had a terrible game. He was absolutely horrendous. He did get that rushing touchdown, which didn't give him, basically, if he didn't get that, he would have had almost 0 points. So if he's on your waivers, I'd stash him on your bench and hope for that vintage Cam to come back a little bit.
Okay, moving on to some wide receivers. First up, we got Kendrick Bourne. What are your thoughts on him?
Kendrick Bourne, I'm iffy on Bourne. He has got 23 plus points in 2 of the last 3 weeks. But if you look at his targets, they haven't been great. 6, 4, 4, 4. Like, those aren't great numbers. If he scores touchdowns, he's probably going to do good, obviously. But he just doesn't get the targets to be like a startable wide receiver. So I wouldn't pick him up unless you like are in a deep league and really need him.
Yeah, I'm not high on him, but I think I'm higher on him than you are. If you have someone you can drop, I would pick him up. I think it isn't a terrible option, but I wouldn't rush to pick him up. I for sure wouldn't want to start him in the next coming weeks. Buffalo this week, I don't like it, and then he has a bye week. So if you really need a receiver, I would stash him, but I wouldn't rush to pick him up or even think about starting him right now.
Yep.
Next, we got Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson, I actually like Van Jefferson a decent amount. The targets in the Rams offense was actually very evenly split on Sunday against the Packers. Cooper Kupp had 10 targets, Odell had 10 targets, Van Jefferson had 9 targets. He only hauled in 3 catches, but he got that deep touchdown which did save his fantasy week with 18 points. I like Van Jefferson a good amount. I would say he still is worse than obviously Kupp, and I still think he's worse than Odell. But I think if you really need a wide receiver, this Rams offense is going to score a good amount, so I think Van Jefferson would be decent for your fantasy team.
Yeah, I like the targets. 9, 7, 7, 6, the last 4 games he's played. I think he is better than Kendrick Bourne. I think I would rather pick up Jefferson than Bourne if they're both available. Van Jefferson in NFL Fantasy only rostered in 17.8% of leagues, so decent chance he's going to be available for you. If you need a receiver, I would pick him up. I think he's a decent option.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up, we got Josh Reynolds. He's on this list because he got 16 fantasy points, only 5 targets, 3 catches, had that 40-ish yard touchdown. I would not rush to pick him up. Yes, he does have the connection with Goff, but I don't want any really receiver on the lines besides Hawkinson right now. What do you think?
Yeah, only got 3 catches. He's not getting the usage. I wouldn't pick him up either.
Yeah, don't pick up Josh Reynolds. Next up, we got Cedric Wilson. I would not pick him up. CD was out last week. Amari's out last week. Got 17.4 points, 10 targets, 104 yards. So the stats look good, but again, the 2 receivers are out. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Don't touch him. He will be pretty irrelevant once the 2-star wide receivers for the Dallas comes back.
Yeah. And our last receiver, we got Deshaun Jackson, 19.2 points, 4 targets, 3 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch him. He only got 4 targets, as you just said. Last week, he got 0 targets. He's just not being used in this Raiders offense that much. He did get that deep touchdown, so his stats look pretty good last week, but I still wouldn't touch him.
Yeah, I would not pick up Deshaun Jackson. I would just leave him. Moving on to tight ends. First up, we got, I'll be surprised, Pat Freiermuth. I'm surprised. He's rostered in less than 50% of leagues. He's been really solid as of late. He's a tight end 11. If you need a tight end, I for sure would pick up Pat Freiermuth. He's in concussion protocol, so he might miss the game. But again, if you need a tight end, I for sure would pick him up. What do you think?
Yeah, Pat Freiermuth's doing pretty good. Pull out those stats from the last couple of weeks. He's put up 14, 11, 6, 21, 14, 13. He's been consistent. For tight ends, it's so hard to find consistency. If you're down bad at tight end, I would say Pat Freiermuth's a top 15 tight end going forward, and I like him.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure top 15 going forward. Next, we got Gerald Everett. He had 14.7 points, 9 targets, 37 yards, and a touchdown last night. I personally don't love Everett. I think he's okay. If Freiermuth's available, pick up Freiermuth 10 times over Everett. Again, if you're super down bad, maybe, but I feel like there's so many other options at tight end you can pick up over Everett. I just don't love the consistency is pretty bad. 14, 6, 14, 1, 5, 6 for his recent points. What do you think?
I agree that Freiermuth's better, but I still don't hate Gerald Everett. If you look at when Wilson comes back, 14, 6.7, almost 15 points. Those are not bad numbers. 9 targets, 4 targets, 8 targets. For a tight end, those aren't terrible numbers. I wouldn't say go rush to pick him up. If you're really down bad and Muth's not there, I kind of like Gerald Everett on your team.
Next tight end, we got Jack Doyle. He had 20 points on 7 targets, 6 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. It's another guy I would not rush to pick up.
Yeah.
Call me crazy, I might like him a bit more than Everett because Wentz does like his tight ends, but I see both of them as not worthy of it being picked up. What do you think?
For me, I for sure like Everett more. If you look at the targets, Everett has almost 5 more targets in the last 3 games. He does get more catches. And Jack Doyle, there's Mo Alley Cox there, probably going to be taking most of the touchdowns. I for sure would not touch Jack Doyle.
Yeah, I don't love either of them. And our last player we got is David Njoku. He got 12.5 points on 5 targets, 35 yards and a touchdown. I would not touch David Njoku. I know the commentators were hyping him up on Sunday Night Football, so that might make him seem like he's better than he really is. He hasn't had double-digit points since week 5.
Yeah.
I would not touch Njoku. Just leave him.
He hasn't got more than 7 targets all year. He's not great. He's not utilizing that offense that much. Him and Hooper are both taking targets. Also, Harrison Bryant on that Browns team is getting some targets. I would not touch Njoku at all.
And that's the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment this secret word for a like and reply. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time.